Working as a freelance artist, there's a lot of things I can't control in my career. But at least if I know I've got space, I can tolerate a lot of other instability in my life.
So you're visiting the future home of the ACME artists community, and this will be the space of the community TV network. Watch your step.
We were poor. We left Puerto Rico for that reason. There was no jobs. We lived in projects most of our lives. We moved to Chicago when I was about 5 years old. I had to leave school when I was 16. I immediately made my plans to become an artist. I wasn't quite sure if I could be an artist or not because I didn't have the education. So I taught myself painting. Okay. With that particular brush, you can make lines because see how the brush is shaped? It has a straight edge on it. I make a living by giving my services to the schools, doing murals, printmaking. That's how I survived for the last 20 years.
Once I have a space at least the size of this room to paint in, this part of it, that would be nice. And that's what I'm getting, something like twice the size of that, so. It's not huge, but it's a lot better than this.
An artist tend to be moved out of neighborhoods after they kind of make the neighborhood popular. I don't think there's any other community in Chicago being moved out as fast as us out of the city.
Artists need their space to be affordable. They often need space for messy kinds of projects, lots of light and ventilation, a decent amount of storage space. And to lose that every 2 or 3 years, it's very difficult to maintain my career as an artist.
NWAC launched the ACME artist community 12 years ago, and the goal was to create housing that artists owned, not rent. So we bought an old factory. Our intent is to build 25 units of work-live space.
And we invited artists to come together and develop the concept from the ground up.
Good morning, how you doing? Buenos días. ¿No quiere que le saque una foto? ¿No quiere que le saque una foto con sus... ¿No quiere que le saque una foto? Ahí está bien, ahí está bien. Nene. Nene.
What I do, I walk around with my camera and take pictures of places, so I can tell people what went on in that particular place.
I came to the neighborhood in 1970, and I came to this particular corner. When I saw the tower building on the corner, it reminded me of a book that I read about the United States back in Mexico City when I was a kid. And then I came to this corner and I said, this is Chicago. There was a lot of characters, street characters, right out of Nelson Algren's books, and I could talk to them.
Jeszcze raz, niech żyje nam Niech żyje nam.
But either and the daughter liked
What's
it.
my mother doing?
It's been difficult to stay here. I used to have a place that was 4,000 square foot space. And now I got something that is about 600 square foot space.
I live in this space here, and it's 8 feet wide and 15 feet long. We have no running water in here, and we have no shower, no toilet, and no kitchen, no stove. I've always paid very low rent, and part of that is because I've always subsidized my art.
And go! Head left, shoulders forward, hips backward, kick left.
I spent years working as an actress and earned my living also as a director and a playwright, and also as an arts educator. For the last 10 years, I've been working in media arts. And this is my wizard hat. That's much more suitable for my work in elementary schools, but I'm your media doctor. I have my magic wand, of course. Obviously, I have a spare, too, because every now and then, some child just has to take it home. Outside the door is the Flatiron Building, which is a public building, and I like that about the ACME space because it'll be a building that the public can come into. One of the things that Roberto, my husband, and I plan to do at ACME is to keep having the types of public events that we've been having for 30 years, creating culture, producing cultural events.
So this is the second week. The first day I was over there were 17 people working, taking out the old bricks and kind of cleaning them off and putting them up the edges. So it was amazing to see sunlight coming into those dark spaces.
I'm the executive director of the Near Northwest Arts Council, and NWAC is functioning as the developer of the ACME artist community. Part of my job is to function as project manager.
So I think we will take 20 or 30 minutes to talk about space. Our criteria for choosing space: you need to be a member in good standing, that you attend meetings, you contribute to the work, you are paid up, that you show sufficient need, either family or changes in work environment, and that you can demonstrate ability to afford the space.
Definite family need. My daughter will be back from school. She's also an artist, and I expect she'll be working in the space. I told her this is going to be a good working environment for you, too. I'm a writer. And I'm currently in Kokyo Taiko, which is a Japanese drum troupe out of the Buddhist Temple of Chicago in Uptown. And I've been in that group for 14 years. Apart from playing drums, what I've been focusing on is my writing. I wrote this story actually 7 years ago. And the name of the story is Rules for Romantics. The first line in it is some candidates for the 11th commandment. Don't fart in bed on the first date. I own a house, and I'm one of the few people in the ACME community that does own property, and I can't give the attention to the kind of house I have right now that would allow me also to function as an artist. I always had this definite sense of being a wanderer. And the irony is that I've been living in this place for, when I move, it'll be 13 years. This is the longest I have ever lived anywhere, but I never have settled into this place.
Cookie?
My mom's house is, it's just me and her, and just been a collection of stuff over the past 12 years, I guess. It's very just messy, unorganized, and it never seemed like a house. My mom and I actually get into arguments about you know, because I'm bitter about the house and how I feel like it's just not been a complete childhood or like a good childhood living in that house.
ACME is kind of an adventure into the unknown, although I do know some of the people and I've known them for a long time. It'll be a test for all of us. I know it'll be a test for me.
Would we have to pave them to knock it down?
No, but the architect says we can put a brick over the top of it so we don't get any water damage. And we can put all of our satellite dishes up there.
Can you give him your mad face? Oh. She says, Mommy, they're building my new house. You know, that's my new house. You know? I'm like, yeah, okay. She just turned 4 yesterday.
My husband and I joined ACME when it began in '93. He's known Laura for years.
You got everything?
I got everything. Here's my husband, David.
Hello, I'm David Hernandez. I'm a famous poet. I was born on a Thursday because on Friday we had fish, I remember. I'm a good non-Catholic, non-Jewish, non-Christian boy. I believe that Jesus saves what Moses invests. I love my life. I love making that decision when I was 11 that I was going to be a poet.
Michael experiments with microwavable rice and beans. Yesterday's sunset was a big hit.
Part of it was that I never wanted to be like my father, who worked in the same factory for 30 years, right? And so that was one of the drives for me.
He kissed me softly on the lips, stroking my face and reading it the way a blind man reads a novel. I could smell his shampoo rising into my senses like my mother's garden. I kissed him back, a decision that I consciously made.
One of the things with Batya is that she's a real good writer. I consider her one of the best writers around. We do everything that we need to do to keep on going, you know, with our poetry.
Either this one or, well, this is probably too red, huh?
That's too red, and I think it's a little too, like, tribal.
I work because I have to, and I really miss writing every day. You really need a good 10 to 30 hours a week to write, which is how I used to write. But right now our biggest concern is money, and we have a family to raise. I think that once we move into ACME, there will be less stress with my cost of living way down, that I'll have more peace of mind in the evenings or, you know, in the mornings to really kind of sit down and write.
Oh, this is our unit over here with this big window. But that's got a balcony door, I think. I think that's going to be a balcony. Damiel's going to live right here. These two buddies who've been friends since the 60s are now gonna like retire together. Let's hope that the hallway is wheelchair accessible so they can get to the elevator.
Next to the great famous poet David Hernandez, well, it'll keep me humble. Okay, this is it. This is the space. It looks a lot bigger on paper. This is the first time I've ever had a space of my own that I own, buying for myself. In the early 70s, we had an organization called Batya when we lived by Roscoe Street, and we all got together and bought a building then.
All around the neighborhood, there was a bunch of artists. There was an art scene going on. And we all knew each other, we started influencing each other, and we started growing in our art. And they wanted to develop the neighborhood, so a bank bought all of the Lane Place and moved us all out. It wasn't until then that we realized how sad it was.
I've been involved in the art scene in Chicago since 1969.
Every neighborhood that I've grown up with got gentrified.
I'm able to count 15 places I lived in the last 30 years. There was Lincoln Park, Lakeview,
Garfield Park, Humboldt Park, Logan Square, Uptown,
Howard Street, Edgewater, Rogers Park.
and then finally I moved to Bucktown.
Back in the 70s, Bucktown and Wicker Park were a haven for artists.
There were a group of us in Wicker Park that knew that gentrification was a threat.
And in the 80s, we had a chance to discuss gentrification, and out of that, quite a few artists and social activists founded the Near Northwest Arts Council.
This is the first invitational flyer by the Near Northwest Arts Council to organize artists in the neighborhood.
When I first started working with the Near Northwest Arts Council, I didn't think artists' housing was as important as the survival of the artists. But as I kept on working and realizing that it's going to take a really long time for us to be able to sell work, so that way we're able to buy homes and to live like everybody else does, I realized that artists' housing programs like this are important.
The only tool against gentrification is to be a property owner.
ACME is an answer to this dilemma that's been going on for years. So we're not getting moved out again. That's it. The buck stops here.
Come and see the upstairs.
We are happy and satisfied. A nice view of the neighborhood. Hey, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? Are you from the neighborhood?
Hello.
Say hi. Oh, this is a happy day.
This is a big difference to me because I get to design my own space and I'm not going to get forced out. And I'll have a studio, which I don't have right now. It would have made a big difference in my career. I think that I could have developed a body of work if I had the security and the space to pursue that. These guys are going to move the wood over here. I think all we need to do is kind of rake up the garbage. What we're doing with Andy today is they're putting the roof on, and we don't want to cut holes where they don't belong and patch later. Otherwise, we're right on track.
I think they're going so fast here that they're not getting any of the changes that we're telling them to make. So that's why it's good that we're here today to make sure that everything goes as planned.
They're saying this is going to be a year when this part is done. I always know that they have problems when they're building stuff, especially when they're dealing with old structures like this. You know, I'm still dealing with a lot of back taxes and all that, and I'm dealing with that. And I'm dealing with the government right now, trying to clear that up because I can't move to the next step until that's cleared up. I don't have any credit. Everything I buy is cash. I'm sure that I'll have it together by then.
You want a bread machine? I got a bread machine.
I left Peerless because I had to take a medical leave. I was diagnosed with bipolar illness. And so I had a manic episode. And my doctor said I either needed to check into a hospital or I had to go to this intensive outpatient program. And I mean, I was not acting appropriately at work. I was ill.
The same week that she got out of the hospital, Laura Weatherett came and called us up and says, the community has decided that if you don't have your mortgage, we're gonna sell your unit, It was hell.
I did have a mortgage commitment letter, but I have to renew it, and I'm afraid. This whole thing could blow the deal for me.
Space. I don't know. It just seems like it's like losing some space or something.
You mean losing us some space because we have a closet?
I'm probably going to live at Acme, mainly because it sounds so cool.
The fact that she's enthusiastic about this is very heartening to me because she's really angry at me for the way that we've lived for the last 12 years. And rightfully so. As far as she's concerned, I've ruined her life. And now we're trying to sort of pick up the pieces and go forward. This is a floor tile sample that I'm thinking about for the kitchen.
That's just crazy.
No, not really. Look how it picks up the orange.
I thought it was going to be a lot darker. Like that blue is like really bright.
Remember, it's a black fridge and a black stove. It's going to be sharp.
Yeah.
And with those dishes that I got, it's going to be bad.
Okay.
This is Ted, and Ted's been doing the heating and electrical work. If you ever need anything done on your unit while it's still being built, ask Ted and he'll take care of it. And this, of course, is the gentleman who's the general contractor. And I wanted to take his photo in front of the keys because he's responsible for everything. This is the person who's doing the plumbing in my unit. My unit wound up being the water supply for the entire project, which is not something you want, but I have every confidence that the plumbers will make this work, and everybody gets something. We all have to give a little.
David's friend Gamaliel had a unit. He couldn't afford it because he had a tax issue, but it was never brought to the community. Laura made the decision to have Gamaliel leave. And at one time, she called me up. She said, folks are wanting to sell your unit unless you get a mortgage commitment in 1 week.
Whoever had the mortgage, be them old, young, crazy, crippled, cross-eyed, they got the place, regardless if they were low-income artists or not. So in a sense, it wasn't about community artists at that point. It became more who could pay the mortgage.
I've known Laura Weatherhead for at least 12 years. And my friend Gamaliel, he's worked with her for over 15 years. You don't do that to friends.
Go. Ready?
No. Okay, let's go. Here I go. I follow you. Come on, little lady.
Okay.
Here we are, buying a house. We finally turned capitalist. We're gonna do it early Puerto Rican. That means pink walls, plastic-covered sofas. I want figurines and doilies. Then I want a picture of Jesus Christ, the velveteen one, right up there with the open heart.
I thought we were going to get the three-dimensional Jesus.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Anything can happen until I have the keys in my hand and all the papers are signed. But that's when I think I can relax. So my poor family.
Yes.
What?
They're all a little numb.
No, just a little concerned for you. Make sure you keep it together. Yeah.
We should be done with this 20 minutes tops. So I just wanted to come out and say that nobody's forgotten about you.
When we go in there, you better be cool. D-E-M-U-R-E, demure. Can you be demure?
Point 28.
Come on,
plus,
Batya, you can do
hold
it.
on, plus 194.62. 194.62 equals 890.90. Woohoo!
What?
Yes,
A
cheaper
month?
than rent.
Total.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying for everything.
890.90.
We're paying what, 910 right now?
915.
915.
And the last
And you get
mortgage
the write-off.
we paid
Jesus.
$1,100 a month.
And you get the write-off. Here, David, I need your signature and date.
It's the first time I've really liked
Wait,
lawyers.
what was that bottom line number? Where? 696.28? Wait, oh.
I didn't do this. I didn't get this rate down here. She did it.
She did?
Yes. From not being demure.
More, David. You own it. Okay? Congratulations.
Thank you.
For the past 5 years, we've been living in limbo. We've been either selling our old house or moving. So we moved 3 times in 2 years. 4 full-time jobs in 2 years. And it's been really stressful. The whole process getting here was hell, and that's all behind us now. And so now it just feels like all my dreams that I've always wanted to do, I can start to do here.
You know, finishing up 25 units, all the trials of getting through credit repair and mortgage workshops and getting them through the financial qualification. What do you have to say and do to please everyone? Yeah, absolutely, totally nuts.
It's an attack by the Oscar bags. I've been looking forward to this day for the last 15 years. This is like a combination of antique roadshow and this old house. Because I used to tell people when I died, I want my junk to be thrown on me instead of dirt. And now, 25 years later, a friend of mine said, you see all the junk you got right now? You're gonna need a cemetery just for you. We're gonna be together with 24 other artists. Most of these artists are very young artists with a new energy and a willingness to build something. And I like that. That makes me feel like myself 30 years ago.
The shower bar, the towel bar,
Okay.
on the right side or over the toilet.
I want it actually to be honest.
Okay, dame un besito, un besito.
Oh, I thought I'd never see the day. It's kind of pinched me, this is really happening, right?
I have the most incredible place to live and work. Well, and I got 30 years to live here and nobody's going to take it away, so.
Roberto, reach in the refrigerator, pull out everything that looks like a fruit and a vegetable.
Oh, a brand new fridge.
Oh my God,
my
everything's new.
I'm doing the wrong
Are you
way.
okay?
Oh my God.
What? We're not used to this.
I'm doing it the
We're not
wrong
used to
way.
opening
See?
packages and stuff.
Instead of
We
doing it
don't
to the
have-
front, I'm doing it to the back.
Amen, amen. They're coming in like 15 minutes. Honey, you gotta speed up.
Who's coming?
Who's coming?
Who's coming to dinner?
La familia. Oh my gosh, they're here.
How are you, Mom?
I'm okay.
Fine.
How are ya? Oh, it smells good in here. Ready, set, go. All right. Tongs. Oh, you did the ham, Jim. Well, we didn't have any toothpicks, but we found some chopsticks. Oh, okay. So this thing just like drips all over everything, huh? Cool.
Now, you don't want to pour that down your sink. Huh?
Thank you.
You remember that.
No, I didn't. I haven't cooked in 10 years.
Kitchen, do you have a washroom somewhere?
No, you have to go down.
Unlike in the Flatiron building where I would hand you the key and the toilet paper. And the paper towel. Ready? Cheers.
To Ginny's new place,
And
to
Roberto's
the two mothers,
And may this
and
house
Roberto.
be everything she wants.
And deserves.
Bulk pasta.
Atarashi Sara. New plates.
New plates. Someday, years from now, I will go into a Japanese house where for some reason they will have things labeled like us, and I will know where everything is.
Guess which one's the oregano and then bring it to me.
Okay. You should label these, or at least in Japanese, so I know, but... See, I think this smells like catnip. That's why I didn't want to put it in. Is that it? It was next. Oh, so this is oregano. That makes sense. Right? I'm right? Okay. So, if you ever wondered what 50 pounds of oatmeal looks like, there it is.
It filled up a whole shopping cart in its bag.
It looked like cement, like how cement comes in a bag. You know, those like huge brown bag and like just as heavy. It's insane. So.
This is our first floor living room. Roberto is again backing up the water as we did yesterday, as we did Monday, as we do every time it rains.
There was a catastrophic rain in Chicago. What we experienced was a sewer system that didn't work. There must have been 4 or 5 places where the sewer was collapsed.
It was pretty disgusting. There was like this black sludge coming up from the floorboards. Everything was warped and smelled bad. And I guess they replaced some of it. They didn't do a very good job. And so we've wanted our floors to get fixed, and hopefully insurance will cover it.
We continue to address as a community the problems related to completing a building that we moved into before it was completed, because our financial resources were not such that we would be able to finish everything and then move in. How you doing?
Okay.
What happened?
Oh, it's backed up in the tub. And got some water on the floor.
City crew will be back. We made good progress today. The city guys came out last night and they said, "You need a new main."
Well, duh.
They said, "Look, you say you got the mayor coming tomorrow? You say you got the alderman coming tomorrow?"
Laura's the one, she's the coordinator of the whole project. Very nice.
This is an effort of everyone working together. Artists bring out the best of the community, and to me, that is the importance of this dedication today. Thank you very much.
Kentucky. I've been talking about this project for so long, we get to the end of it, and it's not that I don't have the words, but I'm kind of full of emotion just to see everybody in the same room.
Happy artists. Happy artists.
This is such drama. We're not even creating drama.
It's like a steady stream of rain falling down out of these holes. Yesterday was a storm at about 9 o'clock, and I filled up this mop bucket in an hour. This is about 10 gallons of water. If I wasn't home, there would be 10 gallons of water flowing into the rest of the house. I try not to focus on how this makes me feel and to just and to try to think about how this gets done so that I can keep living here. Until this is fixed, I can't really get far away from the house, and I check the weather reports pretty carefully and stuff like that.
We knew individual units were not finished. Okay, we did not know that it would rain in our home, that I would have to use a bucket instead of a toilet for 1 month, and nor could I shower or wash dishes or wash myself for 1 month.
We entered from the back door, and I smelled the sewage. And I knew immediately what was going on and ran over. Sure enough, you know, this is like everything's flooded. You can call it one flood, but it was really like 5 or 6 floods all in a row. It looks like a disaster site. I mean, in a way it is.
The plumbing here is just so screwy. And when they uncover one problem, then they think they've solved it, and then something else happens because the first problem was masking the other problems. And I mean, the first big problem they uncovered was the broken sewer line, and that was masking all the internal plumbing problems.
And we're checking to see if it's connected, and you know what, Laura? It's coming up.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay,
So it is connected.
So we're all connected. I'll turn on the wet vac. Turn on the vacuum cleaner.
All right.
So this is what was found. It's sucked up by a wet vac out of my drain hole here. We found this.
I took that.
Right, that came out of my
It was a broken piece of pipe.
yeah, and and we found evidence of shoddy work or sabotage.
I think from a new homebuyer's viewpoint that's not familiar with construction, if one thing's wrong, there's an assumption that everything else has been shoddy. And you can't make that assumption. It's too complicated, it's too big, and it's not fair.
For most people, it's their very first ownership situation. For most people, it's the most money they've ever laid out in their life. Some of the difficulties have to do with everybody who tries to move into brand new construction.
I guess our next agenda item is operations.
We recommended at the office that we have a third-party plumbing inspection. We also want to know why the work isn't done. And we've requested it, ad nauseum. And we want to know why the plumbing hasn't been looked at, because it's rainy season. Can we make a proposal for that?
Questions about the plumbing and about the roof?
Well, the same questions we had for, yes, you can answer those.
I share your vision for a finished roof. Absolutely, we don't disagree on that.
And we'd also like
to be finished.
Oh, we'll finish.
Okay. They came out last week and they
2
told me
minutes.
it's fixed. And we said, no, it's not fixed. Fix it by May 7th and we'll fix it.
They said it was done. All right, this scares me. They're coming back to work on a roof, these people that think it's done? Okay, this scares me.
We have a $2 million contract with the general contractor, and he is obligated to follow specifications and to follow the recommendations of the architect. It's too premature to interfere with that process. We have to make this happen.
We want to wrap up this topic, I think. I think that, okay, so we have a deadline for the roof. We need a deadline for the plumbing. I mean, we need it expeditiously. We need it like now, yesterday.
It's not, the plumbing's not in dispute. He's gonna come out and he's gonna dig that up, and we have to move.
We know what needs to be done physically. We want to know when.
We're trying to negotiate this as quickly as possible, and I really don't know. NWAC, as the developers, has a contract with the architect. It has an obligation to the bank, and it has contracts with the general contractor. And then the general contractor has a contract with the roofer. And we're in the final stage of construction, and we need them to do all of the work. I can't this week negotiate the roof, next week negotiate the plumbing, and the following week negotiate overages that happen with the elevator.
I think that the fact that we don't even celebrate our first year, that indicates that we are not that happy. We should get together and celebrate.
How about when we feel satisfied and happy, then we have a hell of a celebration. It'll be our ACME Satisfied Happy Day. Because we're not happy right now.
I'm happy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy.
I'm happy.
I'm happy to when Frank gives me a glass of wine. When Maddie's playing with Arlo and I'm having a cup of coffee with Heather, I am happy.
May 22nd, which falls on a Saturday, it's Batya's 6th birthday. So we're having a big celebration here, so I wanted to invite everybody here to come to that. She's a size 7, by the way.
Mayor Maddie.
This is the best birthday party I've ever thrown for any of my kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Only where there's a line, only about that far down.
Can I help you? You want some help?
So these things are rolled.
I can't live in my house.
We're not in our house, and I don't know where I'm going to stay. It's impossible to live in there. If you go in there, the smell is it's horrible.
And the thing is that like we were getting symptomatic, and we didn't even realize, until I went and did some research about mold. When the plumber came here to start rectifying the mystery floods, he couldn't find things that were on the drawings, and things were in the building that weren't on the drawings, and so. The effect of it is that we really don't know what our plumbing situation is. It's a total mystery because we do not have we don't have an as-built and we don't have an accurate as-designed set of drawings.
Originally, I said to Laura, and I had really defended her. I'm her friend. I'm a personal friend of hers. And I just said, Laura, I'm backing you up. And I hope all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. And she said, yes, they are. But there's just too many things. And I think the thing that capped it for me was the issue with the roof, which caused so much damage to everybody on the West End.
Now, the roof is all of our problem. I mean, we're seriously screwed with the roof. The roof is not draining properly at all. We just had an inspector up last week that gave us an F. We failed for our roof. Yeah, we're absolutely failed. This is something that normally a developer would have fixed within a couple weeks, a month, 6 months. What can we do? What are we going to do?
have to
respond
get,
in
we
high
have to move
importance
on, we have
because
to move on.
Walter was in working on my flood, and he said that the drain that was overflowing in my house was connected to the toilet waste stand. That means that the drawings that we have are inaccurate and incomplete.
One at a time, please.
If you want respect when you're speaking,
All right,
please
Pauline.
allow another person to speak.
I have lived in several single or multiple family houses. I don't care where the funding came to build these houses. It shouldn't matter. I've never had to live through what I'm living through here. Never have I experienced what I'm experiencing now. And it's no excuse.
Many of the things that we are experiencing in terms of infrastructurally caused damage to our units happen because a lot of corners have been cut. A lot of just inexcusably bad work has been done on this building.
Plumbing contractor and the general contractor were on site trying to make the repairs, and the members of the Condo Association wanted to personally supervise it after 5 o'clock. Well, the plumbing contractor did that. They couldn't finish the work. It was dark. They couldn't see what they were doing. They had other jobs. They walked off. The letter that we had written to the association was, either you let us do this work or the flooding that occurs is going to be your responsibility.
I feel that people think that we are fighting against a big corporation instead of talking about things that are of common concern.
I'm not upset about how slowly the developer is moving, because to me the people who are stopping that process right now is the association.
In most instances in condo communities, you know, it's the officers of the board that would hire the attorney to give us information and to answer our questions, which is...
Virginia Boyle, our president of the ACME art community, is tied in with our developer somehow. I mean, they're very close.
When the inspector came to visit, Virginia wanted to put the brakes on that inspector at every step of the way.
It's raining in her home and there's sewage coming up. You would think, you know, she has to realize too that if the developer doesn't handle this expeditiously, that she's going to have to pay the assessment fees too.
Laura and Virginia, between these two, they're just totally obstructing everything that's going on with this community here. They're not allowing us to take over control of what we need and what we have to do.
These are work living space, you know, so most of us just want to get back to do our art, you know, and live here and all of that, but we have to go through all of these obstacles in order to make that happen.
There are people who are spending an inordinate amount of time crafting reasons to be angry at NWAC, and if they spent that time working on their poetry or their art, they'd be way ahead of the game.
As whiny as people may be, you don't see anybody wanting to sell, okay? So you can keep that in perspective.
Additionally, the one that's next to 208, I don't know the unit number, as well as the public bathroom, as well as the laundry room, because they were flooded as well.
Reflooded.
Yeah. Okay.
It's about a foot high, couple feet. What kind of percentages?
Up to about 45%, the lower inch or two.
There is high moisture verified by both infrared and moisture meter in areas of the underneath the flooring. There were elevated moisture readings in lower sections of drywall. It's my opinion that all the drywall from the floor needs to be removed 2 feet and disposed of, as well as insulation behind it. And the flooring be removed, replace the flooring, that the flooring in the kitchen be removed in a remedial wash. The end panel by the dishwasher be removed in the dishwasher.
all the flooding and the mold and people getting sick and people fighting and nothing getting resolved and feeling like I was completely homeless, the whole thing's frustrating.
It's like there's only so much of this I can take, and then I have to just shut down. And I would say since the last time I talked to you, I would say that personally I'm operating at about 50%, if that, because it's so stressful.
Her unit is uninhabitable because she's made it that way. The units on either side of her flooded at the same time, cleaned up. She hadn't offered to replace the floor last summer, and she was so difficult that the flooring never arrived and nobody was willing to work with her.
I know in her mind she had good reasons for not fixing the floor right away and all of the other things that she didn't do, but with someone like my mom, when that kind of thought process takes place, it just snowballs and it just gets worse and worse. And it's just became literally and figuratively a huge mess.
Part of that's my fault. Because I'm moping. I'm sulking, let me put it that way, I'm sulking. And because I'm just overwhelmed and I'm not dealing with it. And my attitude has been really bad.
Our residents are very concerned about issues with shoddy construction. We're in the process of putting together a memo to the Department of Housing. Our developer is developing a new artist community. Is this new community going to have the same problems that we have?
Complaints in the press about shoddy construction and repairs when they're the people that are stopping it. If you got a complaint with the contractor, you sit down and talk face to face with the contractor. You don't try them in public.
We're here in good faith.
NWAC has been doing this for 12 years, totally transparent, totally legitimate. And any talk about walking away is so incredibly and staggeringly ungrateful.
It's our responsibility as condo owners. We've had major building issues, major construction problems. The roof needs to be fixed. The plumbing needs to be fixed. We're living. You cannot sit here all night and fight. We're living in construction.
Sometimes I feel like a child, hoping that my family will come to their senses and really be more agreeable.
Well, because you do that. Because you do that, Frank.
It seemed that folks weren't listening. Anything that was brought up by NWAC, it seemed at that time, was just not even listened to. So I was just baffled.
There is no agreement on item 6. Done.
All right, good.
There isn't agreement on the minutes, and you would need a consensus vote and 100% approval.
Virginia Boyle is out of control. She's acting like she's the president of NWAC and not looking out for our interests. And I believe that she's Laura Weathered's lackey. There's two things here. You're either the problem or the solution. We are the solution, and they are the problem.
You know, Roberto and I, and Virginia and some of us, we go back to 30 years, you know, and looking into this project and all that has been really important for me, you know. I've worked with NWAC, the New Northwest Arts Council, for a long time. My friend Gamaliel Ramirez introduced me to NWAC. Gamaliel Ramirez is still out in the cold out there, and instead of having a unit here. And that broke my heart. This is what I have to say. This is for Virginia. Dear Virginia, I'm asking that you immediately resign as president of the ACME Artist Community Executive Board, because you don't represent our community's interests as much as representing the interests of the development of the New Northwest Arts Council. And you must resign immediately, if not sooner.
I'm going to respond, and I think that people here need to have a response to this thing, because, you know, this affects my household, because I feel that my...
We have to. We need 5 minutes.
Sit down. Let other people.
My heart hurt. I actually try to be a good leader. I was trying to stay in communication with everybody, and one of the things that happened is I came to be excluded.
Since everything is pointing in Virginia's direction, because she's the figurehead of our community right now, I would like to hear her point of view on it first. I would like to hear Virginia's...
No, let me talk. I mean, I'm happy to talk. I would say in response to the material of the letter, that there is a lot of assumption in it. And so what I would propose is that I be provided the opportunity to type up a response.
I think Virginia should be able to respond to your letter. I don't have enough information to make any decision, and it does make me feel that me as a person living here, I'm not represented.
All you gotta do is go to meetings and be included.
Well, you know what? They don't.
And what do you propose? To get this building operational, we have a president who does not have the best interests of this community at heart, and we need to vote on a new president and get on with this. So we can
This is a community issue. Edgar, please. Wait a minute, stop. We have to refocus. David, please.
I'm tired of this shit, and I'll walk out of here if I'm gonna stay here all fucking night with this shit.
This is corrupt.
Batya, David, let's try and stay focused. Jesus Christ.
It's such bullshit listening to this fucking shit all the time. And I'm getting so pissed off about... I don't think... It's like, I'm very thankful for the opportunity I have to be in a community where there's like artists who are, you know, this is supposed to be like one of the first things of its time in the city. And this is the result? A bunch of people just jerking off? Come on. And I would appeal to the people who are throwing accusations and saying, let's get rid of Virginia, to maybe like open up your ears and put away your bias and listen as honest people as well. That's all, okay?
Why did it take 4 years to resolve? We pulled everybody around a table and negotiated what are the steps to resolve this. We kind of laid it out. And then a couple of residents said, well, we're going to pull in this consultant and that consultant, and you know, kind of defeating the agreement. So the mediator got frustrated and said, you guys are not, you know, you're not following your own agreements. I can't solve any of this for you. So what happened was a long, protracted battle that really suited the contractor because he could just kind of use up the time on the clock and he wasn't responsible.
Artists aren't always the friendliest people sometimes. I mean, you know, now that we're heading into our 5th year here, I think, you know, we've just kind of come to the conclusion of From looking at other buildings with construction problems, it can take 10 years to solve a problem. We need to protect our investment. And so right now we're getting a new roof that we're paying for with a special assessment. It's something we had to take action as a community. And so we all got together and agreed on that. And that was empowering.
How do we go back and if we do this again, if this is going to happen again, how do we prevent falling into that, the fractioning of that identity?
Because I was project manager and developer and didn't have additional staff. I was the only one that was answerable. You know, I was kind of on the hot seat. So if anything went wrong, it was Laura's fault.
Well, that's interesting. You've not only played this professional role of the developer, but was also an active participant in the community at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so maybe part of what this is about is recognizing that you can't wear those two hats at once.
There's still some hurt feelings and all of that, and there's still some issues and all of that. But we see the potential, and we're going back to one of the ideals that we had, which was, to really make this place into a great place for artists to live.
I've never lived in a place more wonderful in my life, and
challenging. And challenging, because this is like getting married to 20 people, and then you find out that they snore.
It's a story of a bunch of low-income folks who couldn't do a thing, who are really realizing we're getting moved out of everywhere and getting squeezed smaller and smaller. Where are we going to go now? 20 people got together, each put up $3,000, and voila, we were able to put a down payment down on a building. It stands here as proof that others can do this as well. To me, that is the important message of ACME.
fantastic how these two have this relationship?
See, that's me.
Yeah, you used to have hair, David.
Yeah, that was my Samson look.
I just think it's amazing.
Nobody believes this would work.
Oh, she's good.
I just go on the basis that life sucks, but it's good to have someone to suck it with. That's where Batya comes in. And all these artists, no matter how crazy we are, you know, I hate them with all my love.